"You can't do this," I said, my voice echoing through the marble lobby of the Hope Foundation's headquarters. My sister Victoria stood behind the security desk, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against the polished surface, a look of smug satisfaction plastered across her face. "Actually, Emily, I can," she replied, waving the papers in her hand. "As the new executive director, I have full authority to restrict access to anyone I deem disruptive." She emphasized the last word, knowing it would sting. "And right now, that's you. My name is Emily Preston, and at 32, I was being kicked out of the charitable foundation my mother had built from nothing. The foundation that had been my home away from home since I was old enough to stuff envelopes and file papers after school. The place where I'd worked alongside Mom for the past 10 years, helping her grow it into one of the city's most respected charitable organizations. 2 burly security guards flanked me, waiting for Victoria's signal. Behind them, our small staff watched in shocked silence. These were people I'd worked with for years, people who had become like family. Now, they stood frozen, unsure whether to speak up or stay quiet to protect their own jobs. "This is Mom's legacy," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "You can't just walk in here and change everything she built." Victoria's lips curved into a cold smile. "Mom's gone, Emily. She's been gone for 3 months, and it's time for changes, modern changes. The board agrees with me. We need fresh blood, new ideas, not the same tired programs you and Mom clung to." I felt my chest tighten at her casual dismissal of our mother's work. Victoria had barely visited the foundation while Mom was alive, too busy with her socialite lifestyle and her series of failed business ventures. But somehow, in the months since Mom's passing, she'd managed to charm her way onto the board and convince them she was the future the foundation needed. "The literacy program helps thousands of children every year," I argued. "The job training initiative has lifted entire families out of poverty. These aren't tired programs. They're lifelines for people who need them." "Boring." Victoria yawned theatrically. "We need glamour, galas, social media presence. These people need to learn to help themselves." Now, she nodded to the security guards. "Please escort my sister out, and make sure to take her access card." As one of the guards reached for my arm and jerked away, "I can walk myself out." I pulled my access card from my lanyard and placed it on the desk, careful not to let Victoria see how badly my hands were shaking. "But this isn't over." Victoria's laugh followed me to the door. "Oh, but it is, little sister, it is." I paused at the entrance, turning back to face her. The morning sunlight streaming through the glass doors illuminated the large portrait of our mother that hung in the lobby. Mom's kind eyes seemed to watch the scene unfold, her gentle smile unchanged. Victoria was already instructing the maintenance staff to take the portrait down. What Victoria didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Mom had prepared for something like this. 3 weeks before her cancer took her from us, she had called me to her hospital room late one night when Victoria was at some charity gala. "Emily," she'd said, her voice weak but her eyes sharp as ever, "I need you to listen carefully. There's a letter in my safety deposit box. Victoria doesn't know about it. The key is in my old jewelry box, the one with the broken hinge that she always thought was worthless." I remembered how Mom's hand had gripped mine, her fingers thin but still strong. "Promise me you'll wait until the right moment, Victoria. She'll try to take control. Let her show her true colors first. The letter, it makes you legal executor. You'll have final say over everything. But timing is crucial." "Mom," I started to protest, but she shook her head. "I know my daughters. Victoria needs to learn a lesson about value, real value, not the kind she chases. Promise me." I promised and then tucked the conversation away, hoping we'd never need Mom's contingency plan. But now, watching Victoria direct workers to dismantle Mom's legacy piece by piece, I knew the time had come. That evening, I sat in my apartment, surrounded by photo albums and old foundation documents. Pictures of Mom and me at fundraisers, at program launches, working late into the night to secure grants. Victoria appeared in very few of them, usually just the publicity shots, always positioned front and center despite her minimal involvement. My phone buzzed continuously with messages from foundation staff. Sarah from accounting was worried about Victoria's plans to redirect funds from education programs to social media initiatives. James from program development had already been let go, replaced by one of Victoria's friends from her socialite circle. Even Carol, Mom's secretary of 15 years, was updating her resume. I picked up my phone and called David Harrison, Mom's longtime lawyer and friend. He answered on the second ring. "I was wondering when I hear from you," he said, his familiar voice bringing tears to my eyes. "I saw Victoria's press release about the foundation's exciting new direction." "She's destroying everything Mom built," I said, wiping my eyes. "It's time, David. Mom's letter. I need your help." There was a pause on the other end. "You know this will cause a major upheaval. Victoria won't take it quietly." "I know, but Mom trusted me to protect her legacy. I won't let her down." "All right," David's voice took on its professional tone. "Give me a week to review everything and prepare the necessary documents. In the meantime, document everything Victoria does, every change, every decision, every penny spent. We'll need it all." After hanging up, I pulled out my laptop and began writing. Every memory of the foundation's early days, every successful program, every life changed. Mom's vision, her dedication, her unwavering belief in helping others help themselves. I worked through the night, the words flowing like a testimony to everything Victoria was trying to erase. The next week passed in a blur of activity. Victoria wasted no time implementing her changes. The foundation's website was redesigned with glamorous photos of her at social events. Press releases announced exciting new partnerships with luxury brands for charitable collaborations. The modest offices were being renovated with expensive furniture and artwork. Through it all, I kept my distance, gathering information from loyal staff members who were increasingly alarmed by Victoria's leadership. She had no real understanding of how a charitable foundation operated, no interest in the actual work of helping people. To her, it was just another social platform, a way to elevate her status among her wealthy friends. Finally, David called. "Everything's ready," he said. "The timing is perfect. Victoria's called a full board meeting for tomorrow to announce her complete rebranding of the foundation, including removing your mother's name entirely." My hand tightened around the phone. "She what?" "She's renaming it the Victoria Preston Foundation for Social Innovation. The paperwork's already been drawn up." I closed my eyes, feeling a calm certainty settle over me. "What time is the meeting?" 9 a.m. "I'll be there as the foundation's legal counsel. You should come too. I believe you'll find it very interesting." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Mom, about all the nights I've found her at the foundation past midnight, reviewing grant applications or writing proposals. About the time she sold her car to keep the literacy program running during a funding gap. About the walls of her office, covered not with awards or publicity photos, but with letters from people whose lives the foundation had touched. Victoria had never understood any of that. To her, the foundation was just another inheritance, another asset to be claimed and repurposed for her own gain. She thought she had won, thought she had finally overshadowed her quiet, hard-working sister who had always been Mom's favorite. But Mom had known this day might come. She had prepared for it, had trusted me to protect everything she'd built. Tomorrow, Victoria would learn that some things couldn't be bought, couldn't be charmed away, couldn't be redesigned with a fresh coat of paint and a new logo. I arrived at the foundation early the next morning, dressed in the suit Mom had given me for my first day as program director. Victoria's new security team tried to stop me, but David was already waiting in the lobby. "She's with me," he said firmly, showing his credentials, "and she has every right to attend this meeting." We took the elevator to the top floor conference room. Through the glass walls, I could see the board members gathering, Victoria holding court at the head of the table. She faltered slightly when she saw me enter with David, but quickly recovered, her practiced smile never wavering. "Emily dear," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. "This is a closed board meeting. You're no longer an employee here, remember?" Actually, David stepped forward, placing his briefcase on the table. "Ms. Emily Preston has every right to be here. In fact, this meeting cannot proceed without her." Victoria's smile slipped just a fraction. "What are you talking about? I'm the executive director. I called this meeting." David began removing documents from his briefcase. "Before we begin, there's something the board needs to see. A letter, written by Elizabeth Preston 3 weeks before her death, properly notarized and lodged with my office." The board members leaned forward, interest piqued. Victoria's smile was gone completely now, replaced by a look of uncertainty I hadn't seen since we were children, and she'd been caught in one of her schemes. "What letter?" she demanded. If Mom had written something important, I would have known about it. I finally spoke, my voice clear and strong in the quiet room. No, Victoria. For once, this was something Mom didn't want you to know about. At least, not until now. David held up a sealed envelope, Mom's familiar handwriting visible on the front. Shall we begin? Victoria's face had gone pale. But she wasn't done fighting, not yet. But as I watched David break the seal on Mom's letter, I knew that everything was about to change. Mom's final lesson was about to be delivered, and this time, Victoria would have no choice but to learn it. The room fell silent as David began to read, and I thought I could almost hear Mom's voice in the words, strong and clear and full of purpose, just as she had always been. Victoria was about to learn that some legacies can't be rebranded, some values can't be repackaged, and some trusts, once broken, come with consequences that no amount of social media influence can fix. I settled into my chair, ready to watch Mom's careful planning unfold. Victoria had forgotten one crucial detail about our mother. She had always played the long game, had always seen further ahead than anyone expected. And now, even from beyond, she was about to teach her eldest daughter the most important lesson of all. To the board of directors of the Hope Foundation, David read, his voice carrying clearly through the hushed conference room. I, Elizabeth Preston, being of sound mind, write this letter to ensure the future of the foundation I have built and the people we serve. Victoria shifted in her chair, her perfectly manicured nails drumming anxiously on the polished table surface. The board members leaned forward, their attention fixed on David. In the event of my death, while my daughter Victoria may hold a position within the foundation, all final executive decisions and legal authority over the foundation's direction, programs, and assets are to be held by my daughter, Emily Preston, who has worked alongside me for the past decade and understands the true mission of our work. The silence in the room was deafening. Victoria's face had gone from pale to red, her composure cracking. This is ridiculous, she sputtered. That letter could be forged. Mom would never. The letter, David continued smoothly, has been notarized, witnessed, and legally verified. Furthermore, he pulled out another document. Mrs. Preston amended the foundation's bylaws 3 months before her passing. These amendments, which were properly filed but held in trust until today, require all major organizational changes to be approved by the designated executive authority, which this letter establishes as Emily. I watched as the weight of understanding settled over the room. Every change Victoria had made, every program she cut, every new initiative she launched, all of them required my approval to be valid. This is the first stage of documentation, David said, laying out more papers. I have here a complete record of all organizational changes made in the past 3 months. Changes that were implemented without proper authority and are therefore invalid under the foundation's bylaws. Victoria shot to her feet, her chair scraping back. You can't do this. The board approved everything. We voted. The board, David replied calmly, voted on proposals that required additional approval to be implemented, approval that was never obtained. One of the board members, Mr. Richardson, cleared his throat. Are you saying all our recent decisions are void? Not all. I spoke up for the first time. The essential programs, the literacy initiative, job training, community outreach, those can continue. They were established under Mom's leadership and already had proper approval. But the recent changes, I picked up a glossy brochure promoting Victoria's rebranding. These will need to be reviewed and reversed where necessary. Victoria's eyes narrowed. You planned this. You sat back and watched me make changes just so you could swoop in and destroy everything. No, Victoria, I said quietly. Mom planned this. She knew you'd try to turn the foundation into another one of your social projects. She knew you'd never understand what we really do here unless you were forced to learn. I stood up, walking to the wall where photographs of our program recipients hung. Families who'd found housing through our initiatives, children who'd learned to read in our after-school programs, elderly residents who'd received care through our community health services. This isn't about galas or social media followers or putting your name on a building, I continued. It's about the people we help, the lives we change. Mom tried to teach you that your whole life, but you never wanted to learn. So she left you one final lesson. Victoria's lawyer, a sleek man in an expensive suit, leaned forward. We could challenge this in court. A letter and some bylaws errant. Actually, David interrupted, pulling out more documents. I have here Mrs. Preston's full legal documentation. including her notarized statements about why she made these decisions. Would you like to take this to court? Make it public record how Victoria tried to dismantle a respected charitable foundation for her own gain? I'm sure the media would find it fascinating. Victoria's lawyer sat back, his expression grim. He knew, as we all did, that a public legal battle would destroy Victoria's carefully cultivated social image. The staff, Victoria tried one last angle. I've already replaced key personnel. Illegally, David interjected. Without proper authority. Those terminations are void. The staff members who were let go have the right to return to their positions, should they choose to do so. I picked up my phone, sending a quick message. Moments later, the conference room door opened. James from Program Development walked in, followed by Carol and several other fired employees. They took their places along the wall, a quiet statement of resilience. Now, I said, taking the seat at the head of the table, my mother's old seat. Let's talk about how we're going to fix this. The next hour was a blur of activity. David presented a detailed plan for reversing Victoria's unauthorized changes. The board members, many looking shamefaced, agreed to everything. They'd been caught up in Victoria's grand visions, her promises of increased publicity and social connections. Now they remembered their real purpose. Victoria sat silently through it all, her perfect facade crumbling bit by bit. When the meeting finally ended, she remained in her chair as others filed out, staring at the table. Why? She finally asked as I gathered my papers. Why did you stop me sooner? Why did you think I'd won? I paused, thinking about Mom's words in the hospital. Because you needed to learn something about value, Victoria. Real value. Not the kind you can measure in social media followers or society page mentions. And you think this taught me that lesson? She asked bitterly. No, I replied honestly. But it's a start. You're still on the board, Victoria. You can still be part of this foundation. The real foundation, doing real work. That's what Mom wanted. That's why she did this. I left her there, still sitting in the conference room, surrounded by the remnants of her failed rebranding. Outside, the staff was celebrating, welcoming back their fired colleagues, already talking about reinstating the programs Victoria had cut. Looking at Mom's portrait, still hanging defiantly in the lobby despite Victoria's orders to remove it, I smiled. The foundation would continue as Mom had intended, helping people, changing lives, making a real difference. And maybe, just maybe, Victoria would finally learn the lesson Mom had spent years trying to teach her. Real legacy isn't built on social media posts and charity galas. It's built on hard work, dedication, and a genuine desire to help others. That was Mom's true gift to both of us. Not just a foundation to run, but a purpose to fulfill. Victoria had needed to lose everything to understand that. Now she had a choice. Learn and grow, or continue chasing the superficial success that had always left her empty. As I walked to my office, my real office, not the reception desk Victoria had relegated me to, I knew there would be challenges ahead, but Mom had prepared me for them. She trusted me to protect her legacy, and I wouldn't let her down. The Hope Foundation would continue, stronger than ever, helping people just as Mom had envisioned. And somewhere, I knew she was watching, proud that her final lesson had been delivered exactly as she planned. The weeks following the board meeting brought changes no one had expected, least of all me. Contrary to everyone's predictions, Victoria didn't leave the foundation in a storm of legal threats and social media drama. Instead, she did something that shocked us all. She asked to learn. I want to understand, she said one evening, standing in my office doorway. It was past 7, and most of the staff had gone home. I looked up from the grant proposal I was reviewing, surprised to see her still there. I want to understand what Mom saw in all this, what you see in it. I studied her carefully. Gone was the designer suit and perfect makeup. She looked tired, real. Why now? I asked. She sank into the chair across from my desk. I found Mom's old journals in her office, the ones she kept when she first started the foundation. I've been reading them, and she paused, swallowing hard. I never knew how hard she worked, how many times she almost lost everything trying to keep these programs running. I nodded, remembering those early days. There were months she didn't take a salary so she could pay the staff. Nights she slept on that old couch in her office because she was too tired to drive home after grant writing sessions. Why didn't I know any of this? Victoria asked, but we both knew the answer. She hadn't wanted to know. She'd been too busy building her social circle, chasing the next big thing, trying to prove she was special without actually doing anything meaningful. "Come with me," I said, standing up. "There's something you should see." I led her down to the Foundation's education center in the basement. Evening classes were in session. Adults learning computer skills, teenagers getting homework help, elderly community members taking basic technology courses. Lives being changed in small but significant ways. Mrs. Emily, a young boy named Marcus, ran up to us, holding a book, the first one he'd ever read by himself. "Thanks to our literacy program. I finished it. Can I get another one?" I smiled, leading him to the small library we built. As I helped him choose his next book, I watched Victoria out of the corner of my eye. She was looking around the room with new eyes, seeing what Mom had always seen, the real impact of our work. "That boy," she said later as we walked back upstairs. "He couldn't read 6 months ago. No, his family couldn't afford extra tutoring and he was falling behind in school. Now he's reading at grade level. Small victories, Victoria. That's what Mom always said. Small victories that add up to changed lives." Victoria was quiet for a long moment. "I made a mess of things, didn't I?" "Yes," I said honestly. "But nothing that can't be fixed." Over the next few days, Victoria surprised everyone by showing up early, staying late, and actually listening during meetings. She sat in on program sessions, talked to staff members about their work, and read through years of impact reports. The real breakthrough came during our monthly community dinner, an event Victoria had previously dismissed as beneath our social standing. She volunteered to help serve food, wearing jeans and a simple sweater instead of her usual designer outfits. "These people," she said to me as we cleaned up afterward, "they're not just numbers in a report or faces in a photo op. They're real people with real stories." "That's what Mom tried to show you all along," I replied. "Why she wanted you to work here during your college summers instead of interning at fashion magazines. Why she kept inviting you to events even when you always said no." Victoria wiped her hands on her apron, looking thoughtful. "I thought she was punishing me, trying to make me more like you. I never realized she was trying to give me something valuable." The Foundation's work continued, stronger than before. We reinstated all the programs Victoria had cut, but she also brought some valuable insights about modernization. Her social media skills, when properly directed, helped us reach more people who needed our services. Her connections in high society, once used only for personal gain, now brought in new donors and partnerships. One afternoon, I found her in Mom's old office, my office now, staring at the wall of thank you letters. "Mom kept every single one," I said softly. Victoria nodded, touching one letter gently. "I found one from 20 years ago. A woman Mom helped get her GED. She went on to become a teacher. Her daughter just graduated from college." She turned to me, eyes shining. "That's 3 generations impacted by one act of kindness. That's real legacy, isn't it?" "Yes," I smiled. "That's exactly what it is." Later that week, Victoria called a board meeting, her first since the dramatic revelation of Mom's letter. But this time, instead of announcing glamorous rebranding initiatives, she presented a carefully researched proposal for expanding our educational programs into underserved neighborhoods. As I watched her confidently answer the board's questions, showing a deep understanding of both the challenges and potential solutions, I felt Mom's presence strongly. She had known this would happen, known that Victoria needed to fail spectacularly before she could truly succeed. "The truest test of character," Mom used to say, "isn't in never falling, but in how you rise after the fall." Victoria was rising, finally becoming the person Mom had always believed she could be, and in doing so, she was helping the Foundation rise to new heights as well. Small victories adding up to changed lives, including, perhaps most surprisingly, Victoria's own. 1 year to the day after Mom's letter changed everything, Victoria and I stood together in the Foundation's lobby, watching as workers carefully rehung Mom's portrait, not in its old spot, but on a new memorial wall we created to showcase the Foundation's history and impact. "Do you think she knew?" Victoria asked softly, "that it would work out like this?" I smiled, remembering Mom's words in the hospital. "She knew you better than you knew yourself. She saw past all the designer clothes and social climbing to the person you could become. That's why she set it up this way." The memorial wall told the Foundation's story, from Mom's first small office to our current multi-program facility. Photos showed the faces of people we'd helped, the milestones we'd achieved, the lives we changed. And now, it included something new. A plaque dedicated to Mom's vision, with both Victoria's name and mine listed as co-directors. The decision to share leadership had come naturally once Victoria had proven herself. Her skills complemented mine, my program experience and operational knowledge paired with her networking abilities and modernization ideas. Together, we were building something even stronger than what Mom had envisioned. Remember when I tried to rename it the Victoria Preston Foundation? Victoria laughed, shaking her head. God, I was insufferable. You were lost, I corrected gently, but Mom knew you'd find your way. The foundation's annual gala was that evening, not the flashy social event Victoria had once planned, but a community celebration where our program participants shared their stories alongside donors and supporters. Victoria had traded her designer gowns for a simple black dress, her focus now on making sure our guests felt comfortable rather than intimidated. As we watched people fill the hall, students from our education programs kneeling with business leaders, elderly computer class graduates chatting with young professionals, I saw tears in Victoria's eyes. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing's wrong," she smiled, wiping her eyes carefully. I finally get it. What Mom was building all those years. It's not about us, is it? It's about them. About everyone in this room whose life is better because she had a vision and wouldn't give up on it. And wouldn't give up on you, I added. Victoria nodded. Or you. She trusted you to protect all this and to help me see the truth. She paused, then added, "Thank you, by the way, for not just taking over and pushing me out when you had the chance." "That's not what Mom wanted," I said. She wanted both her daughters carrying on her legacy, each in our own way. The evening's program began with a video, clips of Mom over the years, building the foundation, working with the community, creating the programs that had helped so many. Victoria and I stood together as we watched, holding hands like we used to when we were little girls and Mom would read us stories before bed. And now, the MC announced, the Hope Foundation is proud to introduce our new joint initiative, the Elizabeth Preston Memorial Scholarship, providing educational opportunities for students who, like our founder, dream of making a difference in their communities. Victoria stepped up to the podium, her voice clear and strong. My mother believed that everyone deserves a chance to reach their full potential. Sometimes that means giving them the tools they need. Sometimes it means helping them find their way when they're lost. And sometimes, she looked at me, smiling, it means believing in them even when they don't believe in themselves. After the gala, as the last guests left and the staff began cleaning up, Victoria and I found ourselves back in Mom's old office. The room had changed, modernized with new technology and furniture, but Mom's spirit remained in every detail, from the wall of thank you letters to the small couch where she used to catch quick naps between meetings. "She'd be proud of us," Victoria said, sitting on the couch. "Both of us." I nodded, thinking of how far we'd come. The foundation was thriving, our programs were expanding, and most importantly, we were finally the team Mom had always hoped we'd be. "You know what I found yesterday?" Victoria reached into her bag and pulled out an old, battered notebook. Mom's first business plan for the foundation. "Look at the last page." I took the notebook, turning to the final page. There, in Mom's familiar handwriting, was a note. "My greatest hope is that someday my girls will stand together, using their different strengths to build something even greater than what I started." Emily's heart and dedication, Victoria's vision and drive, together, they could be unstoppable. "She wrote that 20 years ago," Victoria said softly. "Long before everything." I closed the notebook gently, holding it close. "She always played the long game, remember?" Victoria laughed. "She sure did. And she won." Looking out over the city lights, I smiled. Mom had won indeed. Her foundation was secure, her legacy protected, and her daughters finally understood what she'd been trying to teach us all along. Success isn't measured in social media followers or society page mentions. It's measured in lives changed, hope restored, and dreams made possible. Small victories adding up to changed lives, including, most remarkably, our own.